Welcome to the Fellowship of the Films podcast, a podcast where we discuss movies, TV, and other pop culture related topics. On today's episode, we are going to discuss the latest episode of Wandavision. We're on episode
5.
5, that's right. So I'm Duncan, and with me I have Ryan.
Heyo.
And yeah, let's get right into this. Okay, so this episode, can I hear your overall thoughts, Ryan?
Overall, I actually gotta say I like this episode. It was good, and it was another good episode, I have to say. That's all I got, really. How about you, Duncan? What do you got?
A little more than that. This episode was probably my favorite episode to date. It had the most reveals, which this show is based off reveals. Like, the show banks off giving us new stuff that we go, oh my god, oh, this is new. So this gave us tons of new things. It's and also made the most progress. Like, out of all the episodes, this gave us the most, like I said, the most reveals, the most progress towards a story. Let's get into the specific topics here. Okay, so the episode starts off. It's a pretty typical Wandavision episode. And then the first thing significant that happens, they're going through the motions. They have the twins, right? And Agnes, that's her name, right? Agnes comes in and starts helping with that. And then Vision's putting up a little bit of fuss, not wanting her to hold the twins. And she says to Wanda, do you want me to take that again?
Yes, very much so.
This is our first actual direct, I believe our first direct identification that this is out of, is it? Like, that it's in this world. Like, this is the first time a character
in the world
in the world has said that, has identified that they know they are in a TV show.
Yeah, I believe that's the first one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that.
Which was very interesting. It was interesting to see one of these characters we've seen fairly solid the entire show actually kind of break TV show character and actually identify that they were being controlled. What are your thoughts on that?
No, overall, I have to say it's really showing where this show is actually going to be going, because after episode 4, I gotta say, they kind of build up some secrets in episodes 1 through 3, and then in episode 4 to kind of just show their hand of cards, right? So I think they're going to do a similar kind of thing where they're kind of like showing more breaks and cracks, as it goes on. They're going to see where they're going to start hinting towards where episodes 8 and 9, where the kind of finale is kind of going towards,
Yeah, absolutely. This episode also has a lot of things breaking at the seams. Like, when it comes to her whole world was so solid at the start. It was just like a TV show world. There was nothing wrong happening. It was just fairly solid.
Oh yeah, episode 1 had one thing that went wrong, and then that's about it.
Yeah, there's more things going wrong now, more things breaking at the seams. Her world is slowly starting to be torn apart a little bit. Anyways,
I gotta say, yeah, that is kind of a good description of how it is. Like, the entire world as a whole is kind of being torn down and remade in a way that, it's kind of being it's kind of weird, because it is almost like a normal show, honestly. It's just these little cracks are slowly forming, and they just eventually it's just coming together to make. I'm kind of excited for the finale. What about you?
For sure. I am excited for the finale too. Something that next point I have here. So then we go through. So they're talking about that because then Vision and Wanda walk over to the side, and Vision's like, "Oh, what was that? Why?" And the babies stop crying, and they walk over. They stop crying, and then they are now grown up a little bit. So it doesn't. Do they say what age they grow to? I don't think they do.
They don't say. I know one thing, and they grow to an age which is probably about 5 or 6.
5 or 6. That's what I was thinking.
You know what I mean? And then they grow to 10 after that.
Right.
Actually, I won't say even 7 or 8, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then thing that I noticed most prominently at this part was that Agnes seems unfazed by them growing older.
No, Agnes seems she's kind of. I have to say one thing about her that's kind of consistent throughout the series is she seems completely unfazed to anything weird that happens in the entire show.
She honestly doesn't seem as under like the mind control as everybody else.
Yeah, I think she may not even be under mind control. In a way, like it could be possible, right? That like sure, like it could be possible that it's just another force, just kind of being present here. As one thing I think could be possible,
For sure. Yeah, so she seems unfazed by that, and then we get into the theme song, the WandaVision, another take on the theme song.
Yeah.
Because it's now set in the 80s.
Yep.
I just thought this was entertaining. It was just funny to see like they show baby pictures of everybody and seeing Baby Vision. We know that he's not.
He never was Baby Vision.
There was not a Baby Vision, but they show Baby Vision anyways, which was just funny. And yeah, that was a pretty good part. And then we get on to after the theme song, we go out of the show.
Yes, we're out of the show. We're back to looking at Sword headquarters.
Yeah, and they're still working on this case. And so they're going over stuff, and they're analyzing this whole thing, talking to Monica about her experiences when she was inside the Westview. And they do mention, so they're going over stuff, and Jimmy Woo is going through things, and the other guy, what's his name again? The other sword in charge guy, says, does she not have a nickname or no special name? He's therefore referring to superhero names like the Vision, Captain America, Scarlet Witch. Most of us know that Wanda Maximoff is Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah.
I think what they were referring to is that nowhere else in the Marvel Universe, I don't think she's called Scarlet Witch yet. She hasn't been called Scarlet Witch yet that I know of. I don't think she ever... So this is them specifying that she has no nickname. She has no nickname, and he's saying no. So this is confirming that she hasn't been called that. So this reveals a few things. They haven't called her that, so I would guess there's going to be an official reveal of that name in this show. Mm-hmm. Especially because that name sounds like a villain. Yeah. Scarlet Witch. Mm-hmm. It sounds a little bit like a villain. I feel like by the end of the show, she's going to be a villain, and they're going to call her the Scarlet Witch.
See, I could see that. Also, it's another thing because it is kind of a clear distinction between because I know even like because the show is called WandaVision, right?
Right.
And it's kind of weird because it's like Vision. That's kind of
that's his superhero name. Yeah, why wouldn't they use Scarlet Witch?
Yeah.
Right. So that also makes sense. Very good point. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, so they may have called it WandaVision at the end of the show, or I would assume somewhere they're going to call her. She's going to make a character transition for them to call her Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, because I know in the one trailer it had her in, like, this is the first time we've actually seen her in, like, her actual, like, Scarlet, like, in the trailer? She's in her costume.
Right, yeah. And so whether it's her turning into a hero or a villain, or I believe that there's going to be some kind of character transition, and she's going to be officially considered the Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah, I could see that probably happening by the end of the show. Or they might go another way, and they might be just trying to show that this character that is similar to the comics version of the Scarlet Witch. This is our version. This is our take. This is different. You know what I mean? Because Marvel does like doing their own. Like they take stuff from the comics and they make it different. Like I know one main thing is like what's his face and the one guy from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, that was a change. I couldn't tell you exactly. I just remember there was a change in that movie. I could see that, but the way they're pointing out that she has no nickname yet, I feel like it's more likely we're going to get an official.
Yeah, we could get an official reveal.
Official thing by the end. Yeah. They also go through. They show footage as they're analyzing what's going on here. They show footage of Wanda stealing Vision's corpse.
Yeah, she just looted Sword headquarters real quick,
This is an interesting development because we didn't know if she had made Vision like she's like made some of the other stuff in this world, or like what happened there. But she did steal his corpse. Mm-hmm. So whether she brought him back to life, I would think she brought him back to life because at first I was thinking she might have just like reanimated him, but then he wouldn't be. Well, what happens in the rest of the episode? We're spoilers, obviously. In the rest of the episode, he ends up like discovering he's trying to figure out what's going on here. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he would be digging that deep if she had just reanimated him. So, I I assume she's resurrected him. So I assume he's alive again by the amount of decisions he's making in his own.
Yeah, I would like to say that he at least has there's some kind of sentience there, just because like he's actually making cognizant decisions compared to everyone else. Where like, it's kind of like I gotta say probably the two people who actually, even also her the kids, right, Billy and Tommy, they actually have like actions that are not like 100% anticipated by Wanda, right? Because they ask, they remember the one thing where they say is like, oh, why is Dad at work? It's Saturday, isn't it, right?
Yeah. I'm very curious, the kids, because they keep aging up. Like everybody else in the world, we know are actual people outside the world, but the kids keep aging up. So I'm not sure. We don't know what they are.
Yeah, the thing is, like, we know the other people are just mind-controlled people, but these kids, we don't know, because they can't just be a set of mind-controlled, kids, right? That she just
Unless she could be aging them up, I guess.
Well, they seem to be aging themselves up is the main thing, right?
Right.
And so it could be possible, right, that these kids are actually, like, real. She could have fabricated them, because if she was able to bring Vision back to life, it wouldn't be much of a stretch to say, because then by that magic, she's actually making matter, because,
Right.
So, and it wouldn't be much of a stretch for her to just make the matter in the form of a kid or two.
Right.
And probably in between, like, even if she was able to embed some, because I know in MCU in general, vibranium is just magic. It's literal just magic.
Yeah.
And Vision's made out of vibranium, so if you can somehow just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is all magic, so I mean, pretty much anything could just be happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we'll see that later in the show.
Oh, we'll see that. Yeah, I feel they'll explain something or other, especially going forward.
Yeah. Okay, so after that, we go back into the show. Yes, the next thing I have noted here. Vision. So she goes. They have a dog in the sink. Vision gets up. He's like, "Oh, hi, everybody. Oh, that's a dog." Blah blah blah. And then Wanda asks Vision why he's dressed so formally, and he says, "Because I feel like someone will be dropping by." So this is Vision first indicating that he's starting to see the tropes of Wanda's. Someone drops by, Wanda's world that she's created. Oh, someone drops by, and then he even says. So then Agnes comes in the door with. They just got a dog, and she comes through the door with a dog house. Mm-hmm. And Vision actually says someone's going to come through the door with exactly what we need. So he's seeing that this is strange, how somehow someone shows up with exactly what they're looking for.
And see, I gotta say, the one main thing, right, that I see, actually, this is a little off topic, but the main thing I'm starting to see is, because when you think of this, right, this episode 5 is happening technically right after episode 3, because episode 4, it goes back in time and it ends at the same spot as episode 3 does.
Right.
So this is right after episode 3, and the end of episode 3, that's the first real indication that Wanda has been like showing, right, that there's people invading, right? So now she's being a lot more, what's the right word, flamboyant with her powers, just as a result of that, which is one theme that's discussed in the episode. But she's just being a lot more flamboyant, just kind of like just doing stuff, right? Because she knows she's in control of everything inside of here now. Where before she was like worried to show stuff, but now she's just willing just to do whatever.
And yeah, we'll hit on that more in the later discussion, because there's something else that hits on that later in the episode. Mm-hmm. So let's keep going here. So next thing, we go back out of world. So it's very jump back and forth. We're in Wanda's world. We're out of Wanda's world. We're in Wanda's world. So then we're out of Wanda's world. That's I'm gonna call it that. And our good pal Jimmy Woo is bringing everybody coffee. He just looks so proud of himself.
He's got coffee now.
He's got coffee, and he's got everybody's coffee. He looks so proud of himself. I love that they bring a little bit of the humor that he provided in Ant-Man to this show a little bit, with him just being a little bit of a dork. So that was funny. And then we go, they're planning things out, right? Monica and Darcy are planning things out of how to get in there. Mm-hmm. And she mentions, we just need a neurospace.
We just need a bunch of science words, and it's basically just saying it's really hard to get in there, right?
Yeah, but she was saying specifically that she needed a certain type of engineer, and she started looking up a contact on her phone.
Yeah, so that
people have been speculating that could be another character from the Marvel Universe. Mm-hmm. It could just be a she just needs somebody, but it could be another character. An engineer like that, someone all sciencey. We could be looking at somebody being brought in from the X-Men, or lots of people have been speculating maybe a Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four.
I mean, it could just be also, they could just, one thing, I don't know if this would be a stretch, but they could bring in Shuri from Black Panther, right?
They could, yeah. So they could just bring in someone we know, but of course people on the internet being the way they are, they're theorizing.
Who's the new character, guys?
Who could it be? So there is certainly a possibility for that. I don't think they're going to mid-season, just as they're ramping other things up, give us a big reveal. That would be an end of season thing.
Yeah.
But she did mention that as well. And then Captain Marvel is mentioned. I'm not sure the exact context.
They mentioned, so they're talking about like how, you know, how powerful like Wanda is, right? And then they're like, oh, she probably would have beat Thanos, you know, and then nobody else came close. And then it's rather Jimmy Woo or Darcy say, oh, but Captain Marvel, because she was also I'd argue she came close, right? And then that obviously affected Monica.
It does trigger Monica there. She seems to not like Captain Marvel, which is interesting.
Which makes sense in a way.
Well, so her mom was best friends with Captain Marvel.
Yes, and then Captain Marvel just dipped right there, out of there for just like 30 years.
So she could be mad at Captain Marvel because the snap happened. Mm-hmm. The snap happened and Captain Marvel wasn't there.
She wasn't there to try to stop Thanos the first time, right? And she's actually, that's the reason why she missed seeing her mom die.
Right.
Which is hinted at the beginning of the episode.
It could be why she doesn't. There could be other underlying things, but that could be the main reason.
Oh, yeah.
But Monica does not like Captain Marvel. This is about mid-episode. All the stuff we've gone through. By this point in the episode, we've already had a ton of reveals.
Oh, they're revealing stuff left and right now. They're just going, here's a reveal, everyone's a reveal. It's just like Oprah, you know.
And then we go back into Wanda's world, and Vision is at work.
Yes.
And they're just discovering computers, and they get an email that is from SWORD. So then we have there's all these minute details in the show. They're slowly building something. So we get an email from SWORD.
Yeah, so Vision, he's with Norm right now, and they're looking at the email from SWORD, and then suddenly everyone in there is kind of just getting all droned over, right? And they all just like start saying, you know, they start reading the text that's on screen, and the email is just basically SWORD. It's like it looks like some kind of memo, interpersonal memo from SWORD talking about, you know, the certain current situation. And now that they finally have computers, they're able to intercept that actual memo.
Right. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to actually get from that, but
no, it just shows that they're actually being able to penetrate, you know, through email.
Yeah, and then it also triggers more of Vision's curiosity as to what's going on. He's able to turn off the computer using his fingers, like his magic, I don't know what to call it, special power fingers. And then he does that to Norm as well. And then Norm goes out of his, and I quote, Vision, suppressed personality.
Yes.
And starts panicking because he's being stuck in this world. He's like, I need to call my sister, so-and-so was sick, blah, 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 blah. And so he starts panicking, Vision starts panicking because of this, puts him back into his suppressed personality.
Yeah.
And goes on from there, but now Vision's Vision knows what's going on.
Yeah, I gotta say that in between that dialogue he had with Norm while he was unsuppressed, as you put it, like in that dialogue, it shows just how actually she's affecting people. Like one thing he kept bringing up as how much pain he was in all the time, right? From like she's in my head, I cause so much pain, you know.
And it's weird how some characters are more controlled than others. I'll be interested to see how they explain that, because some characters are more controlled. Like some characters they can't even know anything until Vision. Like him, Norm seems completely under control, but Agnes is a little bit back and forth. And even you could say that the other back and forth person is like her neighbor who she was talking with. He could.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He could be a little bit back and forth too if she was able to talk with him. So, I don't know how that works. I don't know what the difference is, but that'll get explained.
Herb.
Yeah. So I guess I'll explain why some people are under more mind control than others. Okay, so that passes. That's a big reveal right there. Mm-hmm. We're getting more and more this world breaking apart, right? And then they send in a drone.
Yeah.
That's
from the 80s.
From the 80s.
Because
so that they can send in and still something from that era to counter the fact that things get shut down.
They get sent to that era and then they can't use them. Well, this is from that era, so it gets sent to that era and they can still use it.
Yeah.
So this is their first actual, other than Monica, this is the first time they're actually in there.
Yeah. And then that pisses Wanda off. She leaves.
She leaves out. Which one important detail here is it's about midday in the actual Wanda in Wanda's in the hex or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But when you come out, it's nighttime.
Yeah. So she's clearly controlling nearly everything there.
Oh, and because time's going at such an astronomical pace, because the one thing we know is one thing I forgot to mention about episode 4 is if you look at her screen, right? On the screen, it showed a clip from an episode that we never seen. So this is this show, right? We're only seeing select episodes of this entire so this is a series. So this is a long running series, and we're only seeing select episodes of that series, right?
Right.
Because there was that one scene which we never seen actually in the show from earlier on.
Right. Okay.
This is
I didn't catch that. Okay.
Yeah, it was a minor detail, but it's interesting because to think that this is a show,
Yeah, and so. Okay, so then she goes out because she's mad, and when she goes out, her accent returns, which is something I noticed as well.
It's a lot. It comes completely. I think it is very stressed. I think that might just be so you notice it, but
yeah. But I had actually forgotten. When I started watching WandaVision, I'd forgotten that she had an accent. Yeah, I hadn't watched more other Marvel stuff for a while, and then she went out, and I was like, right, she has an accent.
Yeah. She's from Sokovia, Yeah.
So her accent comes back, and she gets very angry. I don't think she's fully aware of what she's doing as well. She's aware, but
to an extent.
She's to an extent because she thinks she's in the right. They try to knock some sense into her.
I don't think she quite knows how she's what she's really doing to everybody.
Yeah. Anyways, some stuff goes down there.
That's their first time. Then This is the first time that also Monica, after getting out of the actual the hex or whatever, they come into contact,
Yeah, and she speaks to her, but Wanda keeps explaining that she has everything she needs in her little world.
Yeah, they have nothing they can. They're basically kind of explaining that the only thing she really wants is Vision, and there's not really much bargaining that can be done.
Or the lifestyle she has in there, I think she's referring to as well. So
the life that. She wants the husband, she wants the kids. You know what I mean? She has her life that she wants in there.
Yeah. Okay, so then.
Which actually it would make sense for her character, especially because, her parents died when she was 10, right? When they were in Sokovia in the bomb, right?
Right.
Then she never really had a normal life up until this point, because then she was just she was protesting, and then she got into Strucker's experiments, right? For who knows how long she was in there, right? Yeah. And then she was an Avenger, and then she lost the one person she really got close to, right?
Well, and her brother died first.
Yeah, her brother straight up
and
just
then
died
she
too.
Lost Vision. This is essentially just her being.
This
broken.
Is her finally having time to grieve, honestly.
Yeah, this is essentially a grief story, and her being finally broken, and this is what she's doing
to do that,
to deal with it.
Because the main thing if we remember back to Age of Ultron, right? When she finally her brother died, she just straight up just nuked all of the robots in the immediate area, right? Yeah. And otherwise, and she was one of the couple people who was actually left stuck on Sokovia as it was coming down, right? Because it was being destroyed, and actually Vision is the one who saves her. Remember?
Right.
So then her brother died, but now she has someone new, to connect with.
Yeah.
And then Vision died, so now it's just broken.
Right.
Which would explain why she's always thinking she's in the right now.
Yeah. So next thing that happens is we're gonna keep moving here. So the next thing that happens is so Vision comes home from work and is angry because he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Vision has no memory before he identifies.
Well, he comes from home. He's coming home from work, and one thing I should mention is they find the dog. They find the dog, Sparky, right?
Right. And the dog completely went over that.
Yeah, the dog. Sparky shows up, and then Agnes finds Sparky, and Sparky's dead.
Yeah.
And Agnes wraps him up in the blanket. And then the kids, Billy and Tommy, they say, "Oh, Mommy, can you bring him back?" Right? I think they ask her if she'll bring it back, and then she says no. And then they're about to age up just past this, right? And she says, "No, don't." And the funny thing is she's being semi-loose with terminology, right? But she's also kind of, at this point, she's also, like, she's in front of Agnes at the moment. And she's kind of being, like, semi, covering what she's actually saying to these kids, right? But she's not 100%, if you know what I'm trying to say here, right?
Yeah, I don't think she's covering it all, because they say fully in front of Agnes, so can you bring him back? Mm-hmm. So I think Agnes, for some reason, Wanda knows that she can do everything in front of Agnes, because Agnes, and again, Agnes doesn't seem as under control. There's something about Agnes. She's gonna come back in this series and be she's connected somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens, which I completely forgot about, and then
actually, and something interesting. I'm just looking at the IMDb page, right? And other than Wanda Maximoff and Vision, right? Agnes is the only character who's in all 9 episodes.
She definitely has a connection.
She's the only character who's in all 9. Like, Monica's not even in all 9,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they bring her back and what her
role
overall...
Yeah.
Okay, so then Vision gets home.
Mm-hmm.
He's mad because he doesn't know what's going on and why this entire world is... So then Wanda says the credits start rolling. Actually.
Yeah, the credits just straight up start rolling.
Wanda says she's going to go to bed, and he's like, oh, so you can change everything again? So he's aware of people being under mind control. He's aware of things being changed, the decades.
Mm-hmm. The decades, the time, Wanda just undoing stuff like in episode 2.
So he's aware of all this now. And he actually refers to it as the credits are rolling, he's walking after her, and he says, what is the Maximoff anomaly?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting term as well, because I don't know, that sounds more official. I don't know if there's something going on there.
That might have been, I'm not 100% sure where that could be from. I think he might have just been he could have just said that, or he could have just been receiving some intel that we don't see on screen.
Right. I feel like it's a name for something, the Maximoff anomaly.
Yeah, I think that's right. It could be referencing something, or it could be something to do with, like, the future of, like, the show,
Right, yeah. And then they get angry at each other. He actually starts flying into the air. She starts flying. They're like, this is like, I thought we were going to get like a full-on superhero battle here, because she's in the air with her magic going, and he's in the air getting angrier, but she slowly calms him down. But then even when he sits down, he's still going at it. Like, he's still, this is wrong. So then she stands up and she's like, I'm your wife, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And even when she's saying these comforting words, he still cannot focus on, he said, why are there no other children in Westview?
He doesn't...
Which is an interesting question.
There is none.
Vision's pointing out all the questions we're asking as well.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's really formatted like a sitcom, and there is some stuff in sitcoms that they are a show when you break it down, right? Like, I know, like, for example, right, if there's a show that has kids in it, right, there's lots of kids. Where this show only has, like, they only have kids. They're the only people who have kids, actually. Nobody else seems to have any kids that we've seen, right? Everyone else just seems to be a bunch of people living alone in these houses.
Essentially, yeah. And also what's continuing to be suspicious is Agnes mentions her husband, but we don't really see her.
She mentions her husband the entire series, and I don't think we'll ever see her husband.
I felt that it was something with how suspicious she is acting. As well as we never see her husband. I could easily see there being a bigger villain to this, and her being kind of the midway, and her husband being the bigger villain.
Oh, okay.
That's just a theory. You know what? That's a really far
off
theory.
Very...
That's things, like, I've seen people, like, I've read that. That's not my idea. But
I straight up see her just being, like... I see her, like, being bad in some way to this, honestly.
But then again, she does seem under Wanda's control.
To an extent.
To an extent, but she still fears Wanda. There's a
she
bit
feels
of fear.
I feel like she just serves Wanda without being under her control, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
Which is weird, because this whole thing is just a bunch of magic when you break it down, right? So it is just weird how it, like, everything is set up.
Yeah. And then we get the biggest episode, the biggest reveal of this episode, the series, I would say.
I gotta say it. Yeah, that's a pretty big reveal, honestly.
Which is, there is a someone rings the doorbell.
Yep, somebody does ring the doorbell.
and it ends up being Quicksilver.
Yes, but not the version we've seen of the character in Age of Ultron. No, we see the version of the character we see in X-Men.
Right. So we have Quicksilver, played by, what is his name again?
I'm just trying to...
doesn't seem to be very high on the cast list, which is very weird to me.
Evan Peters.
Evan Peters. Okay, so he's playing...
He's playing Pietro Maximoff, which is Wanda's brother, which
right.
is different than the other guy who played. I forgot his name, but other guy who played him in Age of Ultron.
Right. So what they're doing here is this could mean many things. So they're either first let's finish what happens here. So
also
he shows up at the door.
The kids they're 5 years old.
They're 5 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
He shows up at the door. She's shocked. It goes out of show. It pans to Darcy watching the show, and Darcy says out loud they recast Pietro.
Yes.
And then they go back into the show. She's surprised. He makes a few comments. Oh, can I hug my little sister or big sister? I don't know.
Yeah, can I hug my sister already, you know?
And then he makes, he calls Vision a popsicle, and then they end off the show. This can mean so many things. So Darcy says they recast Pietro. Did they recast him?
Although it looks like he's only in one episode, so...
He's only in one episode?
Well, that's what the IMDb page says. He's in one episode. So it's just at the end of this episode.
You know what? This is like the biggest
reveal. The end of the episode.
Oh my god. That would be the biggest...
Oh, just kidding, guys. We're going to show you this, but it's just at the end of the one episode.
Biggest angering thing to fans if they put him in one episode. Oh my.
Because he isn't... Well, and otherwise it looks accurate, I gotta say, so that's fine.
Okay, well, I really hope not. I really hope they show him in the next episode. But anyways, this could mean so many things because she says they recast Pietro, and he is the guy who played Pietro in X-Men, starting with Days of Future Past. He played him then in X-Men Apocalypse and in X-Men Dark Phoenix. Those X-Men movies are not connected to this Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes, that's an alternate universe.
Not even alternate, because if we say alternate, then it's not identified as alternate. Those were owned by a completely different
canon.
Completely different company, completely different rights to the charers.
That was over. That's like
way over there.
Yeah,
that's like DC. That's like if DC.
It's more like what's the right word? If Canada basically, it's kind of like if you're in Canada, right? And then it's like U.S. is like this. It's like crossing that border, where DC is like in Asia.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So this is like the U.S. This
is different stuff. You know,
stuff that was never going to show up in the MCU. Yeah. So. I don't know if they're just bringing him in as, everybody liked him as Quicksilver. Let's pull him from that franchise because it's over. And
does he only come in here, right?
Let's bring him in here. Or if there's a connection. If they're starting to make the parallels and they're bringing in that Fox X-Men universe and saying, this is an alternate universe. If they're bringing in the alternate universe stuff, it's less likely to be happening. But they could be saying, okay, that's an alternate universe and... he traveled from an ultimate. I don't know, something magical,
or a bunch of magic here.
Or they could just be, saying, "Oh, everybody liked him as Pietro. Let's cast him again." Then it starts the questions of why does he look different? Why is he?
Yeah, so why is everything kind of different? Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully those questions will be answered in the next episode. I think that's about the last thing there is to talk about with this one.
So that's one other thing though that I've realized is like I think overall what this episode really shows is how what WandaVision is trying to be is kind of because they're trying to show people, they're trying to in effect Marvel, what they're trying to do is they're trying to show people overall how this alternate universe stuff, right? They're trying to actually transition people into that alternate universe mindset, right? Where different things are happening in different universes.
By Wanda having her own little universe,
and then using Wandavision because it's a stepping stone. Because they had some like bigger concepts, right? In like Ant-Man, for example, right, with the quantum realm.
With the quantum realm,
and then in Doctor Strange with with like
Yeah.
That one scene, you know, that remember the scene from Doctor Strange where the old one or whatever, she just sends him like absolutely just nuts through that like that trippy scene.
Right.
And just shows like the entire thing. And then Dormammu from like the alternate.
Right. So they could be giving us stepping stones to eventually, because Marvel likes to keep their stuff very understandable to the general public. So they could be giving us stepping stones.
Well, because Loki's just completely out there from the trailer, from what I've seen. They are just going full bar with that.
They could be giving us stepping stones to actually then say there's alternate universes, different versions of characters, but I don't know if they're actually going to do that or when they'll do that. Overall thoughts of the episode.
Overall, I have to say this is another good episode. I have to say I like it. I just like how the series is shaping up. Honestly, it's just nice. I keep saying this, but it's just nice to have Marvel again after such a long just period. That like every Friday I'm like, ooh, I just gotta get my fix of WandaVision. You know.
Absolutely, it gives us something to be excited for, and then we also have the next Marvel show. Right as this one about ends, I would think, or is this one end?
This one will end. So there's 4 more episodes. So the next episode comes out actually tomorrow from filming this. So then that would be episode 6, and then 3 weeks after. So it would be about March. So actually, it would be pretty much back to back, honestly.
Pretty much. It'll just be maybe a week or two.
Maybe a week, because I think it's February 11th, right? I mean March 11th.
No, March. I believe it's March 19th. Right, March 19th.
March 19th.
That Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out.
Oh, okay. Falcon Winter Soldier release date.
So I think Marvel's keeping us going with pretty much a streak of having Marvel shows this year since they can't.
Yeah, March 19th. So I think we miss a week.
Right. So they're keeping us pretty consistent with this.
Actually, maybe not. Who knows? It's just like, they're keeping it very consistent.
They're keeping us very consistent with having a show always going. Because that's what Marvel used to do in theaters, is they'd have how many movies a year? There'd always be a Marvel movie
you could go
to be excited for. So now they're changing that over to streaming services, and there's always going to be a Marvel show to be excited for.
See, and that's gonna come in the thing. If we just look at, I'm just talking about even just the future of just Disney Plus, like, and just HBO Max and like all this stuff shows, right? Is when you just think about it, right? Like Star Wars, all these other shows, like there's Mandalorian is good, and then like they have all these other shows that's coming up for Star Wars, right? And all these shows are coming up for Marvel, and it's just gonna be like there's gonna be like 5, like Marvel, like Disney as like a whole, right? It's just gonna have so many different like shows that are just gonna be on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, it's definitely going to become more stuff.
TV is becoming the new movies, honestly, because...
Well, of course, we knew that was coming because of the quarantine and because of COVID, but Disney Plus, I think, is going to become a highly populated streaming service pretty soon.
Yeah, eventually especially when some of these shows and series start to get bigger, I think Disney Plus will... I don't think it'll start to be a lot bigger than it is now, I have to say.
Right, yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to throw in my overall thoughts now.
All right, cool.
I think the show is really good. This is my favorite episode so far. I mentioned that at the start. Favorite episode so far. So many reveals, so many big things. I'm so curious about the Quicksilver, what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well.
My only criticism about the show overall, I haven't had a lot to criticize about the show. But today it did occur to me one thing I like less about it is... I wouldn't say I like less about it. Let me correct that. I'd say is a disadvantage to it. The route they take is very much big reveals every week.
Yes.
So big reveals. There's that first jolt when you watch the episode. It's like, oh, this happened. Oh, Quicksilver showed up. Oh, they broke that. Oh, this person knows about this. They bank off those really big reveals. But I noticed that there's not much. Those big reveals carry the show, and when I go back to try to rewatch it, there's not a whole lot to rewatch. Like, I catch other stuff, but I'm not nearly as engaged. I mean, I get that with a mystery show. Of course, a mystery show isn't going to be as good the second time.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they included some more... If you watching it the second time, you really realize how much the show banks off big reveals, in my opinion.
I can see what you're saying there. Like, I have to say, the show, this mystery shows as general, they've always struggled with rewatchability because
it's a mystery.
Because they keep
once you know the mystery,
once you know what the answer is, it's really hard to like follow, like rewatch it, right?
Yeah.
where I do have to say this in comparison to WandaVision, in comparison to other Marvel things, right? Other movies, for example, this is going to have a lot less rewatchability, I have to say, overall, just because it is longer, first of all. This is 9 episodes of TV versus a movie. Now, sure, that doesn't mean much because people will binge watch an entire 28 episodes of a show in one day, right?
Yeah.
But this is I gotta say, this will have less rewatchability overall, just because you'll know what it contributes in a way, right? Mm-hmm. In addition to, I think this is just mainly meant to just be a kickoff, right?
Yeah, because stepping stone, a connector. Because I think once it's finished, it's not like I'm going to go back and be like, I need to watch the whole show again. I don't think so.
Because the main thing was, originally, Falcon and Winter Soldier was actually supposed to release first, right?
Was it? I did not know.
Yeah, it was originally, because it was supposed to be Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then WandaVision second, and then Loki third, right? And they reversed the order just because WandaVision actually they got done filming it faster, just one way or another, right? Because with the thing about Winter Soldier is they had more different locations, so they had to quarantine more, so it just took longer for them to get around the world, right?
Right.
Where they had less locations, so they were able to film it quicker. But the main thing that shows is that, just theorizing for future, that Winter Soldier and the Falcon Winter Soldier, right? That show is going to be less tied to the world. You know what I mean? That's going to be... I don't think that's going to add much... where this is, kind of starting off Phase 4, right? That's just going to be, more of an action-adventure kind of buddy cop kind of thing, right?
Absolutely, but I also think that because that'll have more rewatchability. It's just going to be a show with some action, and you know what? There'll be some reveals, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, we got Zemo in the trailer and stuff.
But of course it won't... I think it'll... I don't know. I think they all have their differences, but that's my only criticism with WandaVision. I feel like
the rewatchability will...
They could put more in there to make it more rewatchable and bank less off just the big reveals.
Mm-hmm. So what would you rate it?
I'm going to give this one... I really like this episode, though. This is going to be a higher one. Exclusively, I'm not rating... When I rate these, I'm not rating these in general. I'm rating these for the show. So out of 10 for the show.
Oh, you're rating it out of 10 for the show. Okay.
Yeah. Just because, you know what, I'm giving them really high, and I don't want to say 10 out of 10 and think it's perfect. It's perfect for the show.
Yes.
So I'm going to give this one 9 out of 10. It's my favorite episode so far. It has the biggest reveals, and when I was talking about lack of rewatchability, I think it has the most with this episode.
Yeah, I gotta say, I remember rewatching it actually was actually pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, so I give it a 9 out of 10. So that's the highest rating I've given them so far.
Yep.
Overall, I thought it was really good. What do you give it out of 10?
See, I like this episode. I just think it's just I don't think I like it as much as you would, but as you do. But I still give it a pretty good out of 10.
Pretty good out of 10, same as the other ones. Okay.
Yep.
We're going with a solid, pretty good out of 10.
That's an 8 for all of you who need a number.
Okay. Well. Okay. So the other thing we were going to really quickly touch on here is there was some other Marvel news. We've been talking a lot about WandaVision during the show. Mm-hmm. Not WandaVision. Pardon me. That's what the whole show's about. Yeah. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's the one we've been.
Yeah, we kind of hinted about that a little bit earlier on, but
so the news with that one is we got an actual trailer, full-length trailer, and a poster.
Yes.
Marvel released. So we're really quickly. Let's go over that.
This is kind of our conclusion. We're kind of just other thoughts, about other stuff.
So do you want to hit on what did you think of the trailer?
I gotta say, trailer is just it's showing what I want to see. I want to see some more. This is gonna be more grounded in reality compared to WandaVision, which is just a little bit out there, right?
Yeah,
it's good. That's what the trailer's showing. It's gonna. I feel like it's gonna give a very similar. It honestly feels like to me, Captain America Winter Soldier mixed with Captain America Civil War to an extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it kind of gives.
So.
Yeah, because that's what it sees. That's the kind of vibe it kind of gives off to me, honestly.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be more of an action, just a fun action show.
Fun, yeah, pretty grounded, honestly, I have to say.
I like the story arc they're using of Bucky and... What's the Falcon's name? Is that Sam?
Yeah, Sam Wilson, yes.
Sam and Bucky having kind of a issue with each other.
Oh yeah, they just never. They've never gotten along through the entire thing. Even that one scene in Civil War, right?
Right.
Can you move your seat forward? No.
I feel that Captain America was kind of the thing keeping the two of them together. He was like their dad, and they were a couple squabbling brothers.
It was kind of like, the way I see it, he's kind of like his best friend from the past with his best friend from like the present, you know?
Yeah, and they just put up with each other because they're both with their best friend.
Yeah,
but
friend
now
of a
the
friend
best
kind of-
friend's gone.
He's old now.
Well, he's old, so now they're working together, and they were not initially a fan of each other. So.
No, especially from Winter Soldier, you know, just where, they're kind of fighting against each other, you know?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of tension there, which will be interesting to explore, both for comedy and for just the
Character building, you know?
Yeah, growth of those two characters. But overall, I'm pretty excited for that show. It's bringing back a Marvel villain that's pretty classic that I felt was done kind of...
He kind of, what's the right? He showed, for the role for Civil War, it was good. But I feel like they could give that villain more, you know, service. And I think that's what they're trying to do in this.
And knowing what he was in the comics, I was like, that's it? And Civil War? But he's coming back.
Civil War, I do feel, what's the right word? So basically, Marvel, they're trying to gain, I think they did do Civil War just a little early on. You know what I mean? I think a Civil War post Endgame actually could have been interesting, I have to say.
Yeah, perhaps.
I know they wanted to probably keep like Iron Man and stuff, and like they wanted that conflict to be the center of Civil War, especially because I know they planned stuff out pretty far ahead. They probably knew at the time they had to do it, but I have to say, what I'm trying to say is just overall, yeah, I like how they're bringing that villain back. Honestly.
Yeah, I didn't think there was anything wrong with Civil War. I just think if that was where they were to leave it with that villain, I would be like, well, that's a waste of a
little bit of a
waste of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have for that. Do you have any other thoughts on the trailer?
No, I'm excited to see. Excited to see if they have any more promotional material they're going to release, because it is coming up pretty quick. Like it's about a month out actually, because it's about a month and 6 days out.
Yeah.
So I'm actually I'm excited. You know.
Yeah. Same here. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up our episode. Pretty long episode for just one WandaVision.
It was a big episode of WandaVision. We talked about some other stuff from the MCU and other stuff that's going on. This is the Fellowship of the Finn Films podcast. I am Ryan. Here's Duncan.
Yeah, and
this is thanks for watching. You can follow our socials. They're in the link, the About section of our channel. And have a good night.